stuff, but sometimes we are limited to these 1 by 2 degree or even less resolution geologic maps of the area. We kind of joked at this one. This is the Brad and Cole 1978 mapping, and this was the best geologic mapping we found of our region that was published. And it was hand-colored, so we kind of jokingly called it the crayon map. But this shows that in our area, and what we're in the middle of here is the Laramie Formation. But if you see this little knob right here next to I-25, this is a little famous one. You've probably seen it as you're driving north to Cheyenne. That bison you see on the hills on the Ogallala Formation. So that's the beginning. The Ogallala Formation is very famous in the West. It is the major rock formation that makes up the High Plains Aquifer. And this is the edge of it, so we're looking at the very edge. And the contact that you see here is between the Ogallala, and this is the White River group. Most of it is the Brule Formation in our area. This is Cretaceous volcanic ash, likely sourced way up north from Yellowstone during the absorbent volcanism of the Tertiary. So massive amounts of this ash unit has been mapped, but it doesn't show it in our area. It shows that underneath our property we have the Laramie Formation. And it also shows along I-25 what's known as that Natural Fork Formation is the Laramie Formation. That's how it's been mapped. But the Laramie is not really like this at all. It's not known for volcanic ash. It's much more coals and this near shore tertiary environment. Certainly not what we're expecting there. So the first thing I thought when I was looking out there is maybe we're looking at the Aquifer Formation. And Aquifer is known, if you look at it, for these calcium carbonate cemented pipe zones. Very common in this formation. And if you make it up north to Scottsbluff National Monument in Nebraska, you'll see most of the walls up there are this Aquifer. But that's not what we were seeing here. We were definitely seeing what I thought was White River Formation. We had tons of this white ash deposit capped by channels of volcanoclastic, high feldspar sandstone. Certainly not the Laramie Formation that we were seeing up there in that. And so as I went around the property, I started to find all of these little places. They're pretty famous for getting them scratched on. You'll see settlers, very old things scratched into these rocks. Very interesting stuff. But if you started to map them with a GPS, you started to see that they made patterns across the area and across the property. We also saw a very consistent ironstone cap on top of a major channel here. And this view here, you can almost see the bottom of the channel where it is scoured. What I believe is shattered formation, scouring into the Brule Formation here. And you can see some of that mag deposit at the bottom. And you look at those GPS locations across the area, and they form what I thought was probably a channel, this shatter coming into the Brule. Now, the material itself, it was very important that it was making an occlude. If you looked at the Ogallala where it capped the White River, there were lots of places where it was pooling water. You could see these seeps and pooled water on top. Pooling water was very common across the White River, and you could see it, that it was regionally making a bit of an occlude underneath the property there. In other places, we also found that the regional stream system was mostly ephemeral, that you did not see water in these streams. So in addition to the geologic mapping of the area, we also drilled a test well in there for a lithologic block. And looking at to see what kind of materials we saw, we did see underneath the unconsolidated sand and soil, thick, tufaceous, shaly sandstones going on. We also did some magnolitic, deep and shallow looks at the area, looked at seismic. Also made our way over. It's kind of nice being here in Colorado. We've got the Med Center real close and the Core Research Laboratory. Also had some White River and Ogallala cores from Cheyenne, so not too far from our area, where we could again look and see, other geologists are seeing that this is definitely, this material that we're seeing, this is it. This is what I'm seeing on the surface of those channels. also looked at neighboring wells. There's a lot of homeowner wells near the Carter, and that showed this entire region, whenever we remapped it, was not Laramie Formation, but went several miles down. You see in drillers' logs things like white shale and limestone as the top 30 feet, and you could interpolate that they're probably looking at this white river. This was certainly not the Laramie Formation full of coal and that sort of thing. From these geologic maps, we also created a regional cross-section, and these are the important things that we need to show to the regulators of the state that, look, the surface drainage that we see near us is separated very much by this thick package of the White River that goes several miles past to the south of our property. And this allowed us to show that, we are separated locally from the drainage, which ultimately gets us a water well permit and allows us to further go in and develop those waterways. And so in the end, that is what we were trying to do, is to take these older geologic maps and this older work and hybrid it so we could get what our client needed was water. So that's some of the challenges that we deal with in Colorado, is dealing with some of those older geologic maps and to try to bring them up to speed so we can show regulators